Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. On today's program, Al Bina is here from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum for an update about the new season. Some fun pictures to show you today. Hope you can stay tuned for that as well. First, though, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, we have sunshine out there. I think today's the pick of the week, really. A mix of sun and clouds, highs in the upper 50s. It's 52 degrees already, could approach 60 degrees in some locations. Rain will arrive, but not till later tonight after sunset. Lows tonight in the upper 30s. Tomorrow is the wet day, kind of raw and cool with showers off and on. Highs tomorrow only into the mid 40s. Much nicer on Wednesday. Abundant sunshine. Highs Wednesday in the low 50s, and it will be chilly for Thursday's season opener at Fenway Park, but it will be dry with sunshine and clouds. Highs Thursday, again, only in the mid 40s. Right now, we have sunshine, 52 degrees here in Quincy. Checking news for you today, the Quincy Teachers Union and the school committee have reached a tentative agreement on a new 3-year contract. Now, the deal was announced on Friday afternoon after 2 lengthy bargaining sessions with a state mediation team. The union's president, Gail Carvalho, says teachers got the parental leave, pay longevity, and classroom prep time that they were looking for.
I can get into some of that. I do need to ratify this contract with my membership. The members were given a copy of the MOA on Friday afternoon. We got it out as soon as we could to them, and we're going to talk to them tonight, and then we'll hopefully have a ratification meeting next week. But as far as the terms, right now, any parent in the Quincy Public Schools can use up to 12 weeks of their accrued sick time, which is almost a double an improvement of what we currently have, as well as our younger members would be able to, in their first 3 years, borrow against future sick time earnings, which would give them a little bit more of a buffer to stay home and to care for their youngest and newest family members.
Carvalho said the union did not get the sick leave bank that they were hoping for, but hopes that will be part of future contract negotiations. The full union is expected to vote on the new contract next Monday. It will be effective from September of last year to August of 2025, and it includes 3% pay raises for each of those 3 years. The Quincy City Clerk's office will soon be sending out notices to voters whose polling places are changing this year. City Clerk Nicole Crispo says the changes are the result of the 2020 federal census.
Most of our polling locations have gone from the little churches and the Morissette posts and things like that have gone to the city schools. And the reason why we're doing that is because I've worked with the mayor, and he's worked with the school committee and the superintendent of schools. And in November, the kids have off on election day. And for that, we felt now is the right time to move into the schools, be it that it's a city election year, because next year with the presidential, we want everybody to be accustomed to where they go. So we went ahead, changed 15 polling locations to schools. We will make sure that there's handicap accessibilities at those schools that are not handicap accessible now, Atherton Howe being one of them. We will be sure that there is a adequate ramp there to help for election day.
Crispo says notices about those new polling places will be going out this spring, then again in August, just prior to the August 29th preliminary election, if one is needed. The final city election will be held on November 8th, and there will be no school that day. There will also be early voting and mail-in voting available for this year's city election. The state legislature recently approved a $150 million bond bill to help address road repairs across the Commonwealth. The funding is distributed to cities and towns based on population. And Quincy State Representative Tacky Chan says that's good news for Quincy.
we're going to be voting on a $150 million Chapter 90 bond bill. Chapter 90 is the part of the law that provides, well, actually, it's relative to highways, roads, and bridges. So generally every session, generally the first half of the two-year session, we will vote for a bond bill to provide local aid to cities and towns on road and bridge work. $150 million is what we're going to try to push through tomorrow. Don't expect any opposition, to be frank with you, because every community benefits from this, some more so than others. Quincy is actually a major beneficiary because of size. We're a bigger population. We have a lot more road systems. Mileage of road is much more than a smaller community. So things like Chapter 90 works in Quincy's favor.
Chan estimated Quincy would be receiving approximately $1.6 million in Chapter 90 state funds for road repairs across the city. A small warehouse and garage in Quincy Point will soon be replaced with new residences. The Zoning Board of Appeals last week approved a proposal to tear down this existing structure and put up 2 townhouses with a total of 4 units. Some residents did express concern that the new townhouses on Lancaster Street would be too tall. However, the developer said it would fit right in with the neighborhood. The new buildings will be 3 stories with garage parking for 2 vehicles on the ground level. 1 driveway will serve both new buildings, and there will be 2 guest parking spaces. Zoning Board said the new development will greatly improve drainage in that area. The project was approved unanimously. Well, people concerned about the future of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater at Pageant Field here in Quincy are planning to rally outside of Quincy City Hall this week and urge the administration to preserve and restore that structure. A group calling themselves the Friends of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater will stand out from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday. The city recently tabled any discussions about the future of the amphitheater after residents expressed concern that officials were planning to fill in the amphitheater and use it for a playground. The Park and Recreation Board of Directors last fall did vote to examine future uses for the amphitheater. And Mayor Thomas Koch says there are some safety concerns that youngsters could injure themselves by climbing that stone wall. Mayor also said the amphitheater has gone unused since the construction of the Hancock Adams Common and Kilroy Square in Quincy Center. Koch said that the legacy of Ruth Gordon would be preserved regardless of what happens with the amphitheater. It's our check of news for you. Coming up, we sit down with Al Bina from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum. That's next. Welcome back. Another sure sign of spring here in Quincy, at least, is the opening of the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum. That's already happened, so the President Al Bina is here to give us a little update on how things are going and what to expect this season. Al, good to see you as always.
It's great to be here, Joe.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
And you have already opened up the museum, right?
Yes, we did. We opened up in March. Still, March is kind of a cold month. It's kind of an iffy month, but we said, well, let's try to open up. We had a good turnout.
Oh, good.
We had about 25 people that did show up, you know, so including youngsters, you know what I mean? So that was a really good, you know, we were happy with that turnout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, the winter was kind of non-existent, so you had plenty of time to get stuff ready, right?
Definitely, yes, yeah.
Did you do a lot of cleanup over the winter, or was there much to clean up, actually?
We did. In fact, we were very fortunate. I mean, we were all fortunate. December, January, and February were excellent months. And we were able to get into the back of the mill, and we did a complete cleanup job of the back of the mill, removed all the invasive species that was there, raked leaves that were there for the last, I don't know, 30 years. So the back of the mill looks really nice now.
Oh, that's good.
We'll be able to do more things in there now. And it'll make it easier to maintain it now. We'll be able to just get in there with mowers and just kind of keep everything mowed down, which is good.
Once you get the bulk of it out of there, you can just keep up with it. For folks who don't know, it's at the end of Raschuti Drive, the Lions Turning Mill, right?
The Lions Turning Mill at the end of Raschuti Drive, off of Raschuti Drive on Quarry Hills Drive.
Yes,
And,
just at the base of the Granite Links facility.
Granite Links facility, yeah.
Which, as you know, has been in the news recently. They're looking for a 99-year lease with the city, and how would that, or would it, impact the museum?
Yeah, well, indirectly it does impact the museum in a way which is good news. when all that broke about the 99-year lease that Quarry Hills is looking for, we approached the mayor and we actually asked them, in this new lease, if they could take the portion of the Lyons Churning Mill out of this lease, because it's under the Quarry Hills jurisdiction now, and put it back into the city, into the park department. And the mayor agreed to that. So in this new contract, however the contract ends up, whether it ends up 99-year lease or 50-year lease or whatever it is, the portion of the Lyons Churning Mill and the museum now will be under the Department of Natural Resources, which is great because there's only really two historical areas in Quincy at the granite industry, the Inclined Plane and now the Churning Mill. So it's great that they brought that back under the jurisdiction of the Park Department now, or the Department of Natural Resources under the Commissioner Dave Murphy, which has been, like I say, Commissioner Murphy's been great for us so far too, and it'll even be better now that they're bringing it back into this, under his jurisdiction.
Yeah, so
which is
it'll
great.
be under city control.
City control.
I didn't realize it was under Quarry Hills control previously.
Yeah, it was part of the original contract.
Okay.
Yeah, the original contract with the city.
Yeah, and had Quarry Hills done any like improvements at the site or helped you out at all? They
No.
just kind of left it alone?
Just left it alone.
Okay.
That's why. And then we get in there. We did some stabilization. This is going back about 6 or 8 years ago. We actually stabilized the mill. It was deteriorating, with community preservation funding,
Yes.
which is good. But as far as Quarry Hills, they really never did anything. They supported us in a way. If we needed some tools or equipment,
Yeah.
I could always go to them and I asked them if I could borrow them.
Okay.
So they did give us some support.
Okay.
You know.
How much area is up there, Al, that encompasses the museum and the
It'll
mill?
probably be about an acre and a half.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it goes back further than the
So
road.
it goes back further than the road. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else behind the mill that's available for public viewing? Is there any artifacts there?
Yeah, there are artifacts. Well, that's like say we've cleaned the back out now,
Yeah.
so we'll be able to put some artifacts
Yeah.
out in the back of the mill now.
Did you find anything interesting during clean out?
No, not
No.
really. A lot of leaves, a lot of leaves and brush and invasive species, but
Yeah.
no artifacts
Okay.
popped up.
Is it an actual historic, like a registered historic site? Do you know?
It's on the actual state register
It
of
is.
historic sites and the national register of
Okay.
historic sites. So that it's kind of a blessing and a curse because we can't really do much up there without filing, reports and
Yes.
information to the historical society, not the the Mass Historical Commission.
Yep.
So we have to jump through kind of hoops when we want to do something up there.
Okay.
But it's still beneficial that we're under the jurisdiction of Mass Historical and the National Historical. So
Yeah, because it will preserve it, right?
preserve it. Yeah.
Very good. So the museum itself, how old now is the
It was
museum?
built in 1894.
Okay.
1894. It went out of business. It had two owners. James Lyons was the first owner in the building, and then Robert Cantley took it over. And he took it over at about 1899.
Okay.
And he worked that mill until 1915 or 16. And then for some reason, the mill was abandoned after that. We got a little article in one of the old papers here in Quincy that stated that Robert Cantley loaded his large lathes onto rail cars there, shipped them to Utah to turn the columns for the Utah State Capitol. So Cantley, in 1915 or 16, he actually went to Utah with his lathes to turn the columns for the Utah State
Okay.
Capitol. We don't know if he ever come back to Quincy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was the end of that mill.
The end of the mill, yeah.
Okay, because that's certainly, the granite industry itself was still thriving at that time.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
But that mill was,
The mill
not
was, no.
just done. Always at that location
Always
where it is
at-
now? Yeah.
That's another thing as we research it. We'd like to find out what happened after Cantley left it in 1915 to 16. Who went in the mill? Did anybody go in the
Right.
mill? We have no information on that right now, but it seems like something, the building of that size, it seemed like somebody would have gone in there and done something, But again, that's another one of our research projects to try to find out what happened after 1915-16.
Okay. The museum itself, how old is the Quarry Museum that you
Quarry
run?
Museum, we were about 8 years old.
Okay.
We started about 8 years ago,
Yep.
and we got a small little building.
Yep.
I say it's we got a lot of information in a little area, but
Yes,
if
you
you're
do.
welcome to come in there and spend as much time as they want, you know, perusing the information and the artifacts that we have in there, you know. So
Yep. What's the current schedule, the tour schedule?
we're open the first weekend of every month.
Okay.
We started in March,
Yep.
so all through November.
So this coming weekend then?
This
right?
coming weekend
Okay.
we're open. Yep, it'd be the first. I think the first and the 2nd of April
Okay.
we're open. But we open it on request. If anybody wants to go up there with a group or an individual, just give us a call, and we'll have somebody up there to open up the museum, give you a tour of the mill and the museum.
Okay.
You know, so we're really open all the time
Right.
on request.
Yep.
You know.
But hours on the weekends? What are the hours, Al?
The hours are 11 to 3.
Okay.
11 to 3 on the weekends.
Or if there's a group there at 3 o'clock, you won't kick them out, right?
Well, we've had them, Joe, believe me, we've had them longer than that.
I'm
yeah,
sure, yeah. How many volunteers on staff?
We have about 150 members,
Wow.
which is good.
Yeah.
We lost some members due to COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It seemed like after COVID hit, it seemed like, I don't know, we did lose some members,
Okay.
but we're holding around 150.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah.
You know, for a little organization. you
Right,
know?
exactly, yeah.
And again, we're membership supported, really.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We don't get any other support from the city. Well, I got to watch what I say about I won't get any support. We do get support through community preservation.
Yes.
You know, we did stabilization of the mill through preservation
Yep.
money, so we do theoretically get money through the city. you
Right,
know.
but in terms of day-to-day operations...
No, we have no
have
no
no
support.
support,
It's
yeah.
all member-driven support.
But, I mean, now as a registered nonprofit,
Oh yes.
you know,
right.
you are leaps and bounds ahead of where you were just a few years ago, yeah.
We're leaps and bounds. You know, like I say, we've got all our solicitation certificates from the Attorney General. We got all our paperwork in line.
Yep.
You know, so we're good in that
That's
aspect.
great. That's great. It's a huge advancement. You brought some new pictures. It's always
Yeah.
show and tell time
Yeah,
with Al
sure.
here. I just love it because it really puts it into perspective when you can see what's going on up
We
there.
always got a little show and tell.
Yes.
On QATV.
Yes. So show and tell, Al.
Show and tell. This is the rear of the mill. This is showing how we clean the rear of the mill
Did a
up.
phenomenal job.
It was amazing. If you could have saw this site
I did.
prior to this.
Yes.
I mean, with December and January and February, it was so beautiful. We could get in there and we did a major cleanup job. It seemed like we were working some days in just shirt sleeves. You
I
know what I mean? It
know.
was in December and January. It was amazing.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
we had a Carolina winter this year.
Winter, yeah. So the back of the mill, like I say, we cleared it out. We're able to now put artifacts, mount them along the mill.
Yeah.
Our intent is to have walking paths through the mill,
Yep.
you know, and also we're using what they call this crusher run. It's a combination of small stone and stone dust, and we're making paths around the mill to eliminate any tripping hazards around
Great
it, because
idea.
there are a lot of tripping hazards
There's
around.
roots and rocks.
Roots and rocks, plenty.
Just
yeah.
uneven
So we're trying to
ground,
make
yeah.
these paths around there, these tripping, to avoid the tripping.
Yes,
you know.
that's a great idea.
So yeah, that's the back of the mill. This is a shot of the engine room, and we level the engine room with this crusher run, as you can
That
see.
you were talking about, yeah.
And what we do is in an open house, we put up these easels with the photos. We blew up these photos, 2 by 3 foot photos, and really we can enlarge some of these photos so people can really see what the granite industry looked like back at the turn of the century.
Yes,
you know.
yeah. Where did the photos come from?
The photos came from, many of the photos were donated
Okay.
from family members.
Yep.
We got photos from Historical Society,
Nice.
you know, very good for us, and also Thomas Crane Public Library
Oh,
here.
sure.
You know, this is another picture of the engine room with pictures. What we've done also, not only we're going to mount them on the easels that you saw previously, we've got them mounted on the actual wall of the churning mill now. We're able to mount them right on the wall.
That's great,
of the churning
yeah.
mill, with little indentations coming out, so we can remove those pictures. We can't leave them up because they're not waterproof.
I see, okay.
But so people will be able to see pictures along the wall and also on the easels this time. So they're going to be able to see many more historical pictures on our open houses.
That's
now.
great. Yeah, and it allows much more people to see them than it would if they were just inside.
Right,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a shot of actually a big compressor being loaded over the wall of the turning mill back into the turning mill itself. It was one of the artifacts that were actually down in Squantum behind the senior center. There was a building out there that belonged to the city,
Oh.
and over the years they had stored a lot of these artifacts. This is going back way to the Jim Sheets day when
Okay.
they thought they were going to build a quarry museum here in Quincy, which never materialized. But they saved some of this old equipment that they were, as they abandoned the stone sheds around Quincy, the city stored this equipment. And this is one of the pieces of equipment that is being loaded over the wall into the mill itself. So we've got that now as an artifact inside the mill.
And what is that equipment, Al? What is that?
It's
There
an
it is
old
there.
air compressor.
An air compressor.
He-
Okay.
Here's a shot of it. Actually, we've got it
Okay.
in the mill now.
Oh, so those would have been driven by large belts.
Belts,
Okay.
large belts, mainly by steam. It
Steam.
was steam powered back then.
Okay.
You know, this is a shot of the interior of the mill with some of the artifacts we're starting to move into the mill to make it like a walking museum. Walking museum within the mill itself.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So people could see some of the artifacts that were used, some of the machinery that was used in the mill, along with some of the artifacts that were actually manufactured at the mill. Like this one shot we've got there, you can see it like a pedestal. That was actually turned at the mill here, stone pedestal.
Okay, all right. This machinery, where would the machinery have come from or been made? Do you know the history of that itself?
We do have some
Yeah.
of the history of the machinery, like
Yeah.
the big lathes that Robert Catley had in the lathe. That was from the St. Cloud Iron Works from
Okay.
St. Cloud, Minnesota, that was shipped to Quincy here way back, at the turn of the century.
Right, yeah. By rail. it would
By
have been
rail,
At that
yeah,
time,
yeah.
yeah.
Because
Interesting.
we had a railway that ran, the Quincy Quarry Railroad that ran up in that area, had over 6 miles of rail tracks that were up in that area in West Quincy. And one of the spurs went actually right through the center of the mill here.
Okay.
So they could deliver either columns or raw stock right into the mill to be turned.
Sure.
Because stock was sent in here to the mill from all across the country to be turned, because an architect wouldn't want just gray Quincy granite, which Quincy granite was mainly gray. He might want a pink column,
I see.
and they'd
Yep.
ship it in from Westerly, Rhode Island, or from Sandy Creek, Connecticut, which is a pinker granite. So granite was shipped in all around to be turned at the mill here.
Okay.
too.
So it really was an international, or at least
Yeah.
a national operation, when it was
yeah.
at its height, yeah. A couple more here.
Now these, again, this is just another shot of some of the artifacts now that we've actually moved in there. Some actually work platforms that were used in the granite industry, like in the stone sheds.
Okay.
A stone worker would put his work on these little carts, and he'd actually do his work, and then they'd either roll it to the sandblast area, or they'd actually roll it outside to be shipped out.
Yeah.
But these are some of the were some of the things that they would have worked on the granite. This is kind of an example of how we're doing the non-tripping paths around.
I see.
These are some of the artifacts that were actually located at the mill, and what we've done is we've made a path with this crushed granite, crushed stone, a crusher run, to eliminate the tripping hazard, so people can walk up, observe the artifact, and then they can also read the interpretive information we have at each artifact.
Yeah, I see one of the columns there in the background.
One of the columns in the background.
That was turned right there at that mill?
Right
Yeah.
there at the mill, yeah. That was from the L. Quincy Courthouse here in Quincy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, where you see the openings in the mill, Al, would there have been windows?
Windows, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a roof?
A roof, windows and roof. Like I say, if anybody visits us,
Yeah.
we can show them actual pictures of what the mill looked like when it was in operation.
Yeah.
With a roof on it. Much of it has been gone,
Right. Yeah.
over the years. And yeah, like I say, we have many pictures of what the actual mill looked like when it was in operation.
Yeah, because I think it's hard to envision,
Yeah.
looking at it now, to think that it was an actual full enclosed
closed building. yeah.
building. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the last one. That
This
you
is the
brought us
last one.
today?
This is a picture of, I kind of put this in. This was Sam Squid.
Oh, we talked about Sam. Yes.
Sam.
Okay.
He was the International Union President.
Yep.
The International Union President of Granite Cutters. He lived on Samoset Ave here in Quincy.
Okay.
He was going to his office.
Yes, he had an untimely demise.
He was going to his office, walking out to catch the streetcar coming up from Howes Neck. He was hit by a car. He was rushed to Quincy Hospital. This was 2 days before Christmas. He died the day before Christmas, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That particular bust of him was in the family. The family donated it to the National, and the National was located down on Federal Avenue for years. And they moved down to New Jersey. They didn't want to take it with them, so they donated it, or they called the Monte Granite Company to see if they wanted it. They took it. It sat in their office for years. They called me it was last year, they said, gee, we got this stone statue of Sam Squibb. Would you be interested? I said, is it granite? They said, no. I said, well, anyways, I said, is it stone? And they said, yes. I said, we'll take it.
Take it, yeah.
You know, so we kind of put him there as our watchman.
Okay.
So Sam kind of watches our whole operation.
Well, he's doing a good job so far.
knock on wood. It's amazing. We haven't had any problems up there, knock on wood,
good.
which is great.
That's great, yeah. Always fun to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
Joe, it's been great. It's always great to be here on QATV.
Likewise. And come back, please.
We definitely will.
All right. Just enough time to check the forecast for you today. For the rest of it, it'd be a great day, actually, to get up there to the Lyons Turning Mill and check it out. Lots of sunshine, just a few clouds, upper 50s. Rain moves in late tonight. It sticks around tomorrow. It's wet, it's raw, it's damp. It's only in the mid-40s. It really improves on Wednesday, and not bad here on Thursday either. Might have some more rain on Friday. Thanks again going out to Al Biener from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum. Thank you to our crew, and thank you for watching. Please join us here Friday on the program. Representatives of Quincy College will stop on by. Meantime, head to our website. It's qatv.org. You'll find our latest programs there. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and lots more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.